All right. Hello. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Talkin Investing. You're here with Tom and George on the first trading day of a new year, 2026. George, I see half of you.
Oh, but my name isn't George anymore. For 2026, I want to be called something else.
You're switching it up.
Yeah, I was trying to think of a cool name.
That's how bad 2025 was.
Tom's a cool name. Just call me Tom. So Tom 1 and Tom 2.
That's
And,
going to be,
and then we can switch. No, I'm Tom 2. Well, that's what you said, Tom 1.
I
I'm
feel
sorry.
that's unnecessarily confusing.
That's kind of like life in the stock market.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why I figured, we would just make it standard. There we go. How about that?
All right. Yeah. We're 10 minutes late as usual. My apologies. That's me setting up. So thank you guys for being here on a new year, on a great day. To ask everybody if you could please help by smashing the like button, the thumbs up button. Let's get this thing going this year. It's a new year. And
you have a good New Year, Tom?
yes, I did. Thank you for asking. How about you?
Miserable.
That's not true.
Miserable. Just asleep. Slaying demons in the sleep. So I have a question. When are we going to make our predictions?
I actually wrote down a list of predictions. So I will share some of those today with the world, and we'll share some next Tuesday with the members. But I have my predictions, and we'll talk about some of them.
Today was I think this is the normal. This is what it's going to be.
I think trying to extrapolate one day of trading over the course of a year is madness. I'll say this. This was a outstanding opening for the year. We're going to look at December. You guys already know December was not good. It just wasn't good. So,
Gary Coleman, that's a good one.
Gary
What's
Coleman.
Up, fool? I pity. What is that, right? What's up, fool?
He's not. I pity the fool. He's.
Oh,
what you talking about?
What you talking about, Willis? Tom, who won for the best stock performance that you follow in 2025? It has to be IREN or Core.
In my portfolio, it was IREN by a wide margin. But there was a lot of stocks that did well in 2025. We'll look, year's over. We'll look at December, which was bad, but we'll look at the year, which first, if you were in the right thing this year, you did well. If you were in the wrong thing, it could have been a tough year. Hopefully you were diversified and maybe in a little bit of both. That's where I found myself. Sourmelon Gaming 2026 will be great for Bitcoin, but bad for Tim Waltz. I'll vouch for I can't say I'll vouch for it, but I'm on board for the great for Bitcoin. You're going to see when we get to my price predictions. I think that 2026 is going to be a good. So spoiler alert, I think it's going to be a good year. I think the 4-year. I think they're doing something with the 4-year cycle right now, and a lot of people are going to lose a lot of money because they're going to get fooled. But that's what hopefully we're here for. I'm staying the course, so we'll dig deeper into that and see what you guys think. Let's get a poll going. I wonder if I know how to use this thing.
I'm still wondering myself.
All right. let's just start it this way, real simple. Is the bull market over? So there are a chorus of voices saying the bull market is over. Look at the 4-year cycle, dummy. It's staring you straight in the face. It's clearly over, and that's that. So good luck in 2026. Are you in that group, or are conditions on the ground changing and the bull market continues? So let's see what you guys think. And when we have really December, and we'll see if the optimism flips. But from the middle of November until the end of the year was just straight pessimism for Bitcoin. I have an article I want to go through today on why somebody explains, like, Bitcoin's never going to have a giant run up ever again. And it's the FUD was at crypto winter level peaks for the fourth quarter, and the setup, and the fourth quarter was a disaster. I got an article on the fourth quarter versus previous fourth quarters. This was one of the worst fourth quarters for Bitcoin of any year since its inception. And the FUD was absolutely real, but it was a double setup. They remember October? So all September, we were all kind of buying the dip, expecting, September stinks, but October's awesome. October in the fourth quarter is historically the best quarter of the year. And if you look at the 4-year cycle, somewhere in the fourth quarter, we should have a blow off top for Bitcoin. So you had everybody, 150,000, I don't know what your personal price target was. We'll do that poll next, but the pundits were all between 150,000. I'm going to say 150 and 250 was 90% of them. There were some that were 500,000, a million, etc., at the beginning of 2025. So that obviously changed dramatically by the end of the fourth quarter. There was pretty much a chorus of voices saying, well, Bitcoin and cryptocurrency are in trouble. So
thinking back, this is a good question. Somebody asked me, hey, George, why was your 2025 not so good for you? Please do share. I think it's two things for me personally, for one as a trader and one as just a business owner. 2025 was just hard for business. Costs were out of control. It's kind of aggravating when everybody says costs aren't out of control when they are, and no one's really addressed them. And then you have the whole thing with tariffs that really set in, which, it probably did need to happen, but it also affected small businesses, and I just happened to be on the rate on this, like, I was, we did in 2019, ever since 2019, my whole business changed. And I would say that's probably the same for a lot of small businesses. When you say, Tom, since 2019 changed everything.
Yeah, 2019 and 2020 multiplied it. And I just don't think we've seen so many small businesses go out of business. Where I am, I know where you are, George. You're here now, but where you are the rest of the year, restaurants have gotten destroyed, and it's been tough. It's been tough. The one thing I'll say is kind of the obvious flip side of that is all of the mega corporations are trading at their all-time highs. And really, they're trading at numbers. Most of us, if we're honest, 10 years ago, we would have never believed we'd be talking about $3 trillion, $4 trillion, $5 trillion market cap companies. So that's an awful lot of money to suck out of the system.
Right. And I feel that I am, I've been in the same company. I've owned the same company for 15 years. And last year, 25 was the hardest year since I've been open. I debated for months closing. And the only reason why I didn't was because I felt that it's such a bad year for me. Can you imagine trying to have the people that do work for me get new jobs? I mean, it'd be awful. For me, I have to take in you know, I had to take some of my investments out. That's the reason I didn't get destroyed actually with, my stock decisions. I didn't touch any of my crypto. So I've moved almost all of my trading money into crypto. But that's number one. But number two is you see the top 10 people, the top 7 companies, and they just made so much money since 2020. It's an unfair amount of money that they've made. And I hate being that way because I'm a capitalistic pig, you know what I mean? Yeah, at heart. But it's crony capitalism. And that's where we're at. That's the reason why this channel hasn't ever taken off.
We're on a 5-year run that I know, speaking as a U.S. citizen, we haven't had 5 years like this. And that doesn't mean, I understand if you go back 100 years, we had the Great Depression. I'm not saying that we haven't had hard times. The whole world has. We had, the Great Depression, World War I, World War II, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But what happened in these last 5 years from a business standpoint and an economy standpoint, we've just never seen this phenomenon before. And things are changing so rapidly, it's very hard to predict where it's going to go. I will tell you, with all of that said, I remain optimistic.
Well, I'm beginning to change my thesis, though, for 2026, because I don't see things changing until the second half of 2026 now. I see this pain continuing for the first at least 3 months, but probably the first 6 months' time. That's the problem.
Well, there's a potential 2 big whammies out there in my mind that kind of correspond with your time frame. Number one, I think it's highly likely we're going to have another government shutdown. And that's just not a good thing. It's just not. It's not good for anybody. It's not good for the U.S. It's not good for any trading partner with the U.S. It's just, and it's frustrating. All we ask these guys to do is keep the lights on, and they can't even do that. So that's how I feel about it. And
so the next thing, Tom, is I am actually in shock that Bitcoin is as low as Bitcoin is. I am utterly in shock because if you remember, Bitcoin was designed for this. This is what Bitcoin was made for. And I thought Bitcoin, I would think that it should go parabolic, but I just think it's being so controlled and so manipulated now, it's not even funny.
Now you're going to the short-term thesis that I have, which is effectively this is bogus price action.
Yeah.
And what it has done, it's not an accident, and it's been highly effective. Retail investors have run to the hills. They are net sellers of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in December in a big way, in the fourth quarter in a big way. And meanwhile, for Bitcoin, the whales have been accumulating hand over fist. So,
yeah, I mean,
this isn't a coincidence.
I'm still averaging in as much as I possibly can in crypto right now. But, I would say it's very disappointing to see your highs and then to see your lows, how much I'm off of that. I would say in crypto, I'm down 50% from the highest it ever was.
Right. So that's the hard part, because you're also, for some of your stuff, you're up 300% from your lows.
Right.
But, we got, and this is where I'm saying they duped us in September, October, November, and December. They absolutely set up the retail investor to get wiped out, and they did. So hopefully you guys, didn't get hurt too badly in that. And remember, if you didn't sell it, your number may look smaller, but
And I hate to say this next statement, Tom, because I wish it wouldn't be true, but I think between now and the election of 2026 is probably going to be the hardest time the United States has ever faced. In just with, I mean, everything's on the table. I think we think 2020 was bad. I don't think 2020 was bad. I think what's going to come is going to be far worse than that. And I don't think people understand what we're against. What
Well,
is working against us is people just don't understand it. And it has to do with trading stocks. It has to do with currency. It has to do with money. It has to do manipulation. And I mean, there's opportunities out there, but this is going to be a rough one. And I wish I didn't have to say that, but that's honestly what I believe. I have a feeling that any prediction that we think has been thrown out the window because whatever they allow to happen is going to happen.
well, if there's some other thing, like in 2020, we had something that, a true black swan event, something that is not predictable and is truly rare to the point that it's kind of a one-off. So, those types of things, there's just no way to price those in. If they happen, you're just going to suffer and grin and bear it. I will say, in 2020, let me go to a.
I doubt it. Trump ain't going to struggle.
Here, this is when we have crises. Look what happens. Like we just went through this at the beginning of 2025. By the time Tariff Day happened, the world had collectively lost its mind. Everybody thought everything was going to zero. We were all screwed. And this is the SPY. So this is the S&P 500. The NASDAQ looks identical. It crashed. Right? We had a crash. That's almost 22% in, a short period of time. But what happened? As always, that's a V. Your V-shaped recovery, and then there's the old high. We're now crushing the old all-time high. So if you panicked and sold on the way out here, which is what retail investors are infamous for doing, then you got burned. You got burned, and your money's half what it should be right now. Now, most people with their retirement accounts, they don't pull it out, right? Hopefully it's set it and forget it. So, with that money, it went down and it came right back, and this was a blip. But the same thing happened. If I go back to 2020, it was identical. In fact, the V was significantly bigger than this. The recovery was huge. So, and it's some of the same reasons of what we have coming. Some of the stuff that caused the recovery in 2020, which, by the way, led to the beginning of the run-up in Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin was trading for pennies on the dollar. It had gotten destroyed. And liquidity came back into the market. And that is going to happen in 2026. But to George's point, it may be later than sooner in some ways. And somebody said, one of the members, Alexander, until we get a new Fed chair, all we will get is peanuts. So that was the second factor that I was going to mention. Jerome Powell leaves in May. So from now until May, we're just banging our heads against the wall.
It is May? It is May?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
And so,
well, and this is you know what's crazy, Tom? I would say this is probably going to repeat itself. I think 25 and 26 is going to mirror itself in the beginning and then change.
You think
yes,
a panic?
Yep, I think I think it's just destined for a panic.
Well,
I mean, did anybody hear about I wonder if anybody would know this. Who knows who was the bank that was screwed on the shorts of silver? Does anybody really truly know? And if you do, tell me why. The rumor is it was JP Morgan. Does anybody even know what I'm talking about?
Well, after you disclose that, I'm going to get to an article that goes a little bit to this point, because you and I have talked about this.
But I mean, it's like you said, what is it? The market can stay irrational more than you can stay sovereign. Is that how it goes?
Yeah, essentially more than I think originally Warren Buffett said that. I'm not sure. Somebody said it, but it's, I mean, it's true, and we've seen it. The market is, here's the thing. They used to teach us, probably many of you are old enough to remember the efficient market theory, and so that essentially said money, forget what people are saying. Forget reading the articles. The money is telling the true story. Money knows what's right. And so the market is efficient. It's pricing in the not only what's already happened, but what's to come. And that's not how the market works anymore. Now the market works in, George, you've talked about money rotating. It's in rotations. It's boom, bust, boom, bust. And the volatility is through the roof compared to what it used to be. Almost no stock, in my opinion, I would say certainly at least 80% of the stocks, maybe more than that, are more than one standard deviation away from their fair market value, either to the upside or the downside. And here's the problem. You could have a stock that's wildly overvalued, and then you go, oh, I've identified this, right? And you'll be right. You'll do your technical analysis, and it's overvalued. And here's the problem. It could double from there. And that's probably more likely to happen. Once something is overvalued and hitting new all-time highs, the next most likely thing to happen is that it will continue to hit new all-time highs. So you're more likely to lose money. Now, I'm going to show you later in the program a stock that actually went very quickly down to its fair market value. And we mentioned it on the show many times, and I did not short it because of that phenomenon that we've seen companies just continue to run and run with no underlying fundamentals, and vice versa. Other companies that are rock solid, but they are shorted 30%, and they just get beat down until everyone's given up, and then they 2x, 3x, 5x, 10x, whatever the case may be. So the market is not efficient.
I don't know if you're going to agree with this statement, Tom, but I think big money has it out for Trump. And I think that's the reason why crypto miners, Bitcoin miners have never saw what we thought would happen in 25. I think crypto overall has become very political. It's a nuclear football right now. And
it is political. It's a highly political subject. And the fact is, there's no avoiding it. First of all, everything's become political.
Right, yeah.
Sports are political for some reason that I'll never figure out. But I know why. I mean, Bitcoin and at the root of all of this, and there's a lot of reasons, but at the root of all of this, we're going to either move into a world of stable coins and Bitcoin or digital currency, right? Government funded fiat digital currency.
Here's how much they don't like crypto. Because I was telling you right now, the thing that people are talking about, it's kind of made the news about some daycare centers. I don't really know anything, but do you know if that was on a blockchain, this could never happen because we could track every single dollar in that blockchain.
Right.
You could actually track it to the exit point of when it went off the blockchain.
The blockchain can allow for massive transparency. It's kind of a double-edged thing. It's decentralized and allows for privacy, yet when used specifically to do so, it can allow for total transparency.
They will never do this, but every single non-profit should be on a blockchain. Every single non-for-profit, every single government dollar, and every single non-for-profit should be on a blockchain.
And
There you go.
I wouldn't say never. I would say there's several reasons. There's some nefarious reasons potentially that's not happening, but beyond that, we have not yet adopted cryptocurrency yet. So this is a part of what is my thesis for why things are. We're at the beginning of this game. Things are going to go up from here in ways that don't seem real right now.
Tom, we're probably still 10 years out for even become a thing.
Right.
We're many years out. I have a question. Looking at the stocks of the companies that you traded in 2025, are you in shock where you are currently, or no? Are you exactly where you thought you would be?
I'm not where I thought I would be, and I really made one. I dollar cost averaged in all year long. I really made one fundamental trade in 2025. I sold my Microstrategy and bought IREN. And I did that when IREN was at $6. Had I not done that, this year would have been a train wreck for me. But I'm up, 300 or 400% instead of being down 50% on that piece of my portfolio. But that's a big enough piece that it changes the dynamic altogether. It's funny because what you said, George. I had a really nice year, but compared to my highs, it feels like I lost all my money. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I'm up. It's not close, but it feels like I lost all my money, and that's how they set the fear and panic in, and it's what makes most people just get out. And then on the flip side, like here's a day today. Everything's up double digits, and the retail investors were probably out there buying stock hand over fist. Oh, I can't miss it. I already missed it. I got to get in now. It's like if you didn't like Marathon in the 8 handle, what do you like about it now that it's almost at $10? Right, that was 2 days worth of trading.
You know what's funny? Bitcoin macro. You know who I feel bad for? I feel bad for Elon Musk more than anybody else in the United States. Not like, bad because he's got trillions.
I was just going to say,
he's got
so far,
of dollars.
I haven't lost 1 second of sleep over his life.
But think about what that man's went through just because he uncovered some fraud. That's the thing. And to think that we just kind of went, whatever, who cares? Yeah,
they came after him. Big time. Yeah. But here's the thing, and I'll tell you, I'll call out another YouTuber. There's a very big investment YouTuber that made all his wealth on Tesla stock. And he sold all of it in the $250 range and did an hour-long video on all the reasons why Tesla is a nightmare and a disaster and it's dead money. This is somebody who's been making pro-Tesla videos for 6 years. So since he sold that, Tesla went from $250 to $450. So this is when politics get in the way of your financial decisions. When we say do your due diligence, you got to have a clear head. Like, I don't care if I love Elon Musk or if I hate Elon Musk. I care what's going on in the financial statements, what's going on in research and development, what's the company going to do? I'm not selling good stock because I don't like somebody. This is not kindergarten. These are not our friends.
Somebody said there's a phantom $300 billion rotating in and out of different sectors of stock. And I think that is what we're chasing. And I think that's what we witnessed back in summer of 2025. That money rotating in and rotating out.
So my philosophy is, as it rotates out, I dollar cost average in. Because ultimately, and
it will go back up.
And right. And especially with our group of stocks, we focus on the Bitcoin mining stocks, which we really can no longer just simply call them the Bitcoin mining stocks. They are the Bitcoin mining data center stocks.
Yeah, data center stocks.
And that makes all the difference. And some of them are way ahead of the others, but they've essentially all gotten into the data center business at this point. And the ones that were first movers have already been rewarded, right? So there's 3 that have outperformed everything. The other ones will come in time, because here's the thing. And I did see somebody mention this earlier, another member, that, the energy problem hasn't even started yet. So
it's getting ready to.
All of these companies, Bitfarms, for instance, I'll go to Bitfarms because I'm going to they had some news. So let me sidetrack for a minute. Bitfarms announces complete exit from Latin with sale of its peso. I don't know what they're saying here. But I know what they're saying. They sold their site in where was this? Paraguay. So they're out of Latin America, and it was a risky move. For those of you who've been around long enough or followed Bitfarms for long enough, everybody said they were crazy for going there in the first place. It was a very politically and economically unstable place, but I believe the former CEO had some relationships there where he felt they could overcome that, and it never happened. They were going to do big, big things. They made a conscious choice about a year and a half ago, and Ben has quadrupled down on this. They're moving. If you read this press release, here, I'm going to read a couple other parts. Rebalancing energy asset portfolio to 100% North America. And this is why I came over here to this.
You know what's funny? They didn't want to rate it that way, but go on. So you know what they wanted to say, but go on.
2.1 gigawatt total multi-year pipeline in North America, 90% based in the United States.
There you go.
This company has shifted gears. They opened a headquarters in the United States. They're coming to the United States.
This company's going to pop. Sorry, Sour. It is going to pop.
They have a 2.1 gigawatt pipeline, and here's what the problem is. And the problem for the AI companies, not for our companies, which are the data centers. It takes so long to go from zero to locking down the land, locking down power agreements, building out your infrastructure, buying your NVIDIA chips and machines, and getting a data center online. That's a if you're great at it from green grass, that's a 2.5 year process. So even Bitfarms was a little late to this versus some other companies, but you know what? They're earlier than everyone else in the rest of the world. They got 2.1 gigawatts coming online over the next 2 or 3 years. That's all. All of the big boys are going to tie this up with contracts before it's ever even built, because they're desperate for energy anywhere they can possibly get it. And we are super early in that phase. So that's one of the things I've really been trying to pound home, this concept that there was an AI bubble and it's over. I do have an article on that as well. It's just absolute nonsense, particularly since our list is of picks and shovels type plays. We are the data center energy providers, and there is an overwhelming gap between the amount of energy we have and are able to put online and the amount of energy the AI companies need. So even if everybody does their very best, this stuff's still going to be sold at a big premium, and there's going to be a big shortage for years to come. That's on the low end of AI doing what we think it's going to do.
Welcome, Alex, as newest member. We have a private stream Tuesday at 4:15 where we get down and dirty.
Oh, yes. Welcome, Alex. Thank you.
Down and dirty. So, so here's the thing that we still don't talk about, Tom. Power. I mean, it's crazy. I heard Trump is talking about building 5 or 6 nuclear power plants. Is this correct?
Nuclear power. Yeah, but when are those coming online?
Yeah, I know. No time soon.
No. So this is what I'm saying. Like there's a lot of power coming. But some of it's going to take 2 years, some of it's going to take 3 years, some of it's going to take 5 years, some of it's going to take 10 years. So the companies that are already have a pipeline going, whatever stage it's at, right? And the further along you are, the better, obviously. But whatever stage it's at, you're already ahead of everybody else. So Bitfarms made this change quite some time ago now at this point. Though they will not be, they're one of the companies, for those of you new to the channel, and if you are new, or if you just got here, or even if you've been here all along, if you could please smash the like button. It helps the algorithm big time. I know that is boring, but it is also true, so help us out.
And here's a great example of the difference between today and Tuesday. Tuesday will tell you where we think Bitfarms is going. Today, we don't know. I hope that makes sense. You see what I'm saying?
The guessing game, right. We'll play the guessing game with a small group of members. We're not going to do that. And I got an article that just goes right to that. The prediction game in 2025 was a disaster. It was a train wreck. And it's you're always putting yourself out on the line, and to who knows to whatever extent that impacts anything. Alexander, will Americans really accept nuclear power in their backyard? I have my doubts. This is what I would answer to that. This is one of the beautiful things about large language model, high performance computing, and mining Bitcoin. You don't need to be in somebody's backyard. Power plants that are in people's backyard are to power the houses and industry in a city, right? There's got to be power plants near the city because the transfer of power, we don't know how to do it. We can't get it from point A to point B without losing a lot of it and it costing enormous amounts of money. So if you want power to power a city and have the homes and businesses turn their lights on and go about, heat their houses in the winter, etc., you need power plants right there.
Affordable.
With Bitcoin and with AI, you can go out into the middle of a open field where there's not a thing to see for 10 miles in any direction and build the biggest data center you want to build. And that's what they're doing.
That. Well, that's not really true, but okay.
Well, there's a lot of that going on right now.
The biggest data plant right now is being built inside Atlanta in College Park by Meta.
Yeah, and there's no doubt, there's going to be power in people's backyards, and to whoever's original point it was, that won't be the nuclear power probably. I think there will be pushback on that, although there shouldn't be.
So I live basically in the backyard of a nuclear power plant, which is like an hour and a half away from where I live in Augusta, Georgia, the 2 newest power plants. And I don't even think about it. And then there's another nuclear power plant in South Carolina. If it melts down, I just hope it goes boom. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to get any type of fallout from like Chernobyl. There was a big study down about Chernobyl here recently, Tom.
The facts about, and I don't want to even get into it. Chernobyl was a disaster. It was an unmitigated disaster. There's no denying that. But the loss of life, thankfully, was actually fairly minimal. Now, that doesn't make it a good thing. People died. That, when it happened, people died later from radiation poisoning, and an entire area is quarantined off as toxic. So none of that is good stuff. But I will tell you, if you compare the nuclear power plant in Chernobyl to the ones that they're going to build here, where it is and what it's like, right, the chances of that happening, they're never zero, right? Nobody's going to sit here and say, this can never happen. There's no possible way. I mean, who knows? You could have a massive earthquake where there isn't even a fault line, and it could destroy a nuclear power plant. But what are the odds of that, right? I mean, you can't get into 1 in a million scenarios.
Well, actually, with the new technology of thermodynamics, it's almost impossible to have a meltdown.
Right. So this is what I'm saying. Yeah. The safety precautions are to the extent that it's unfortunate. That imagery is in our head. It did happen. It's real. And it was a horrible tragedy, but it should not dictate our nuclear power policy going forward.
And the one that was worse, really, to me, because that you can't really look at, is the one in Japan. I would say the one in Japan was probably the worst one for the environment overall.
Well, and the one in Japan, and again, I'm no expert on this, but from everything I've read, I would say it was closer to inevitable than never going to happen, based on where they built it.
They had a shutdown order that they didn't follow 3 days before that.
I didn't know that.
They knew it was coming, and they didn't shut it down. So they had a true nuclear meltdown. And that's why any fish in the ocean has nuclear waste in it now.
It's dangerous stuff. It's scary stuff. People don't want it in their backyards, but they certainly don't mind it out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, put it in perspective, a 1 gigawatt power plant is a monstrous power plant. When you drive by a substation that you might see, that could be
5 megawatts.
Yeah, 5 megawatts, maybe 10 megawatts.
But that's usually the two sizes.
Right. So, when we're talking about data centers that are a gigawatt, it's astronomical. So to have 2.1 gigawatt, and by the way, 2 to 3 is the magic number for these companies. Most of them have found a way to build a pipeline, and it's all at different paces, so it's not all going to happen at the same time. But they've all pretty much gotten to at least 2 gigawatts of pipeline of power. So that's why I think they're all set up to succeed, irrespective of Bitcoin, and I think Bitcoin is going to be good for them.
Which companies have this type of power? Like, does CleanSpark have that type of power? Does Marathon have this type of power?
CleanSpark moved in before Marathon. Marathon's actually the one that needs to get their hands on power more so than any other of these companies, and that is why it is radically lagging all the other companies. Having said that, it's being shorted in a way that it is irrationally low, in my opinion. So that's why I bought more. I bought more Marathon.
I will tell you guys, my worst investment ever made so far to date has been Marathon. And that's because I had to sell.
If you look at
traditional retail here, guys. Hello.
Let me just find something.
Buy high, sell low. Hello.
Sidetracking myself for a second because I'm just going to pull one of these up. Actually, I might have.
I will make one stock prediction, by the way, and I always make it. And it's not financial advice, but if you listen to it, you're crazy. Hive to 100.
Hive to 100.
And that's a madman talking when it's at $2 and something.
I can only hope you're right because I have Hive in my portfolio. So I forgot I already had this open in another tab. To give you an example, you said who else has this type? This is a company I think people are sleeping on. This is BitDR. This stock was down 50% in 2025. They have 1.6 gigawatts of existing capacity. That is up and running and operating. Very quietly, people don't know that BitDR is at 50 exahash right now. So
BTDR for anybody. BTDR.
Thank you, George. Yes. So this is one where, everybody else has stopped putting out monthly operational reports, and people aren't paying attention to the Bitcoin side of all of this because the 4-year cycle's over and Bitcoin's a nightmare and the economics of mining are a disaster. But if, let's just say for the sake of argument, Bitcoin has a good year, these guys they scaled up, from 10 to 50 exahash, like almost overnight. Them and IREN did this so fast. CleanSpark is there as well. They were methodical for a longer period of time, and Marathon's got even more than that. But this is now, this was one of the smallest Bitcoin mining companies. It's now 50 exahash is kind of the benchmark. That's big boy territory. Right? There's really only Marathon, IREN, CleanSpark, and BitDR at or over 50 exahash. Everybody else, Riot is at like 36, and then it drops off a cliff from there. So, down to 25. A couple people are at 25, but that's half, right? But the other thing is, they've secured 3 gigawatts. That's not 3 extra gigawatts. That includes the 1.6. So they've secured another 1.4 gigawatts past that. They're going to use all of that for high-performance computing data centers, and they are going to convert some of their existing data centers to high-performance computing data centers. They've already said so. So this is a company that's got a 3 gigawatt pipeline, half of which already exists. Now, it's not in the proper form, and it will take money. You can't just turn a Bitcoin mining center into an HPC center. There's a lot of money it takes to do that, but the amount of time it takes is a tiny fraction of starting from scratch. So it's a monumental head start from a time frame standpoint, and it's obviously, even though it's a lot of money, it's a lot less than starting from scratch. So I expect this company to be getting contracts in 2026. And I think every company that gets a contract in 2026, and I think a lot of them will get multiple contracts, is good. I think their stock is going to have a good year. And this is a stock, like I said, it's down 50% in 2025. This was the worst. It was pretty close. Marathon did so poorly at the end of the year, it made a run at last place. And if you take the last 2 years, Marathon was down 29% in 2024, and it's down another 46%, I believe, in 2025 on top of that. So Marathon is in a 2-year free fall. I believe it has bottomed out. So,
Tom, when you got a second, I got to read you something I found that we did back in March 10th of 2022.
Go ahead.
In March of 2022, I mean, we've been doing this long now. We all went, I don't know if you guys remember this, we all picked our 3 best companies. I'm not lying on these companies, by the way, okay? Tom's top 3 were Bitfarms, HUD, and Riot.
Those were not the top 3.
My top 3, and this is crazy that I picked it, was Core, Riot, and Cleanspark. I think I beat you.
I think so. Now,
You think so?
well, I will tell you, it all depends on how you invest. Because remember, for me, my Bitfarms position is one of my best positions in my portfolio.
Right. Okay.
Because I dollar cost averaged in.
You're saying it's not over with yet, is what you're saying. I'm saying
my cost basis is low because they gave us a year. They beat that stock down for a year under $1 to the point where, like, everybody thought there was a 100% chance they were going to have to do a reverse stock split. It was trading at 68 cents. I bought as much of it as I possibly could at that time. So, you know, it's at $2.60 now. So I'm up hundreds of percent on a stock that overall, you know, the shares that I bought when we made that list have not done well. But the quadruple amount I've bought in the middle have exploded. So, you know, that's the power of dollar cost averaging. But yeah, those weren't the real winners. I mean, let's just go look at them because we know
Core is the one that won.
The one I'll do the ones that won 2025, but certainly Core Scientific from bankruptcy till now. I think I have the chart from the bottom until now.
Dude, so, that was the winner right there. That was a winner, and I picked it.
I'm gonna. That's good.
That's
nicely done.
I can't believe it's nice to look back because, like, I have a whole bunch of different ones that we picked of different stocks and stuff like that. Then we did it again. We did it again in 23, and we did polls what we thought stocks would be, and I just wrote this down. This was 12.23 for HUT. It was $8.43. We thought it would get to $45 by now. But here's one. IREN. We thought it would get to $54. That was almost right on the money.
Yeah, because it's at 42 or 3 right now, and it got as high as 75.
But here's where it gets crazy. The only one that we were wrong was Bitfarms. Bitfarms at the time was $2.78. They put real $80. See how much of a disappointment that one's been?
Brutal. Yeah, it's been a monument. Listen, they had to abandon their entire business model and reinvent themselves. But to their credit, they took the assets they had. They bought some assets on the cheap when everybody thought they were worthless. They sold the assets that, you know, are not centralized in North America and that weren't producing for them to get money to continue to build out. So I think they did their stock is sideways for years. So
and then CIFR, we picked CIFR as the last one, and at the time it was $3.59, and we said it would get to 20, which it did. But so we were 75% on those. That's crazy.
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying 2025 was a good 2024 was the brutal year for the Bitcoin miners. It was great for Bitcoin and brutal for the Bitcoin miners. 2025 was sideways for Bitcoin. You'll see this is the year end. This is the end for 2025. This is where we finished. Bitcoin down 6% on the year. So that finished in the red. 3 companies finished in the red. And you can see Marathon almost caught BitDeer. Marathon down 46% for the year. BitDeer down 48% of the year. Now, I started buying BitDeer in 2025 because it was underperforming dramatically. And so I've been dollar cost averaging into BitDeer. I still dollar cost average into Marathon. I'd still dollar cost average into XRP. So none of that is financial advice. I've got a lot of other positions, and everybody has their own portfolio and personal situation. So please we say this for real. Do your own due diligence, because these stocks are volatile beyond what most investors have ever seen in their lives. So if you just happened upon this And
why did you take Core out?
They're not a Bitcoin miner anymore, but I have them on the chart that you'll want.
Okay. But here's what's crazy, Tom. We picked IREN, we picked CIFR, we picked HUT.
Right, and IREN was up almost 300%, even though it's down drastically off its highs. And this is just in 2025. CIFR was more than a double, actually a triple, 218%. HUT was more than a double. TeraWulf was more than a double. But you'll notice IREN, CIFR, HUT, TeraWulf. Those are the four that are furthest along in their data center build out. So it is not some random coincidence that these four are in first place. And they all have very different philosophies on Bitcoin. For instance, TeraWulf is one of the companies that I believe, and they've pretty much said so, by the next halving, TeraWulf will have nothing to do with Bitcoin. I think Bitfarms will have nothing to do with Bitcoin by the next halving. So this list, from a Bitcoin miner only perspective, is getting smaller and smaller. And that's why, I started the top of the show by saying this is really our Bitcoin and data center list of stocks, because this data center piece is going to be more revenue. In 2026, there'll be companies where the data center revenue passes the Bitcoin revenue. That'll be an all-time first. So if we go from the low of the crypto winter until now, I took Core off of this one because it was off the chart. Core would beat all of these. It was up like 10,000%. CIFR, 4,000%. This is from the bottom of the crypto winter in November, December of 2022. So Core, which isn't on here, up 10,000%. CIFR, 4,000. IREN, 4,000. TeraWulf, 2,281%. HUT, 1,201%. I mean, yes, that was 3 years ago, but I think a 4,000% return in 3 years is not bad. So,
unfathomable.
Right.
And you know what is so amazing? This is what's crazy about our show. You would think that we planned all this conversation. We didn't. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. But I mean,
but these are just straight facts, no sugarcoating, nothing. This is what
happened.
Yeah. It's the truth.
It's not. I try to say these aren't my numbers; they're the numbers. I'm just telling you them. So if you like them or you hate them, these just are the numbers. 2024, it was a mixed bag. So Core Scientific is up 153% in 2024. TeraWulf 136%. Bitcoin had a great year, 122%. BitDR 120%. So back then, BitDR was doing well. But you had Bitfarms got crushed in 2024. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stocks finished down on a year that Bitcoin was up 122%. And I'll include CIFR up only 12%. That's a catastrophe. So that was a tough year. 2025 could have been better. On October 10th, it was better. But it still finished okay. So let me go to a chart and show you what happened from basically the middle of October to the end of the year, because we were on fire. From January through April 15th. So that's the first 3.5 months of the year. 2025 was a disaster. The next 6 months, these stocks were on absolute fire. So they went from all deeply red, down 30, 40, 50%, to the reverse. So you see almost all of these finished in the green this year. Some of them that were down 30% are up almost 300% now by the end of the year. Let me find. So what I want to show you guys is, so this is market cap. October 14th, so that was not the exact peak. I don't know what day in October was. It was probably a few days before this. But this was roughly the peak for these stocks. Since the middle of October, these stocks have been varying degrees of a train wreck. And I'll point some out that are outliers and why I'm buying them. Marathon. 2 months ago, Marathon was the second largest market cap out of all the stocks. And I didn't, these numbers, some of these are incorrect because they moved around. So pardon the incorrect numbers. They are now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that one happens to be right. Marathon is now they were $8.2 billion 2.5 months ago. They're now $3.4 billion. Look at the blue, which is the October number versus the red. That's a disaster. Look at CleanSpark, $6 billion down to $2.7 billion. ABTC is the stock I was talking about. We all talked about when this stock came out, we all said, this has no business at $5 billion. It's absolute insanity. There is no sense to it. Well, it went up from here, but ultimately it is now at $1.58 billion. So this fell off a cliff. So this is one of those instances where we rightfully identified a stock that was just grossly overvalued versus its peers, versus its balance sheet, versus its business model. But you didn't know, was this going to go up a double or was it going to come back to reality? Well, it came back to reality. Bitfarms took a big hit from 3.2 million to 1.4 million. Hive from 1.6 million to 600 million. I'm sorry, 1.6 billion to 600 million. But look at HUT, right? HUT got some good news recently. Their stock ran up nicely. They're almost the same. They moved from in November, they were in 6th place. Now they're in third place from a market cap standpoint. So I try to look at this part and say, what's in balance, what's out of balance? Marathon in 7th place, they are the biggest Bitcoin miner. They're not the biggest data center, so there's two parts to that puzzle. But they have a fortress of a balance sheet. They have 53,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet. So they have liquidity for years, right? They're not going anywhere. And I think they're just undervalued. And Sour Melon Gaming is saying Mara is dog shit. So I don't think Marathon's the best Bitcoin miner on this list. I don't think Marathon's the best data center company on this list. I think Marathon's the most undervalued stock on this list. And those are different things. So when I'm having this discussion, that's the discussion I'm talking about. I would be shocked if Marathon did not take out this $8 billion market cap by the end of 2025. They were there, just 2 months ago. IREN. Now, this looks like a big drop, but IREN's a $12.4 billion market cap. They were almost $20 billion, and actually, a few days before this, they were $20 billion. But 2.5 years ago, they were a $200 million market cap company. So they went from $200 million to $20 billion in just under 3 years.
So, Tom, what was the low market cap for all the quote unquote Bitcoin miners? And what is the industry now?
These were every single one of these was under $1 billion at the bottom of the crypto winter. The biggest one was not $1 billion. Now, remember, there's
some good news.
That's right. There's two components to market cap, because stock dilution will give you a lot of extra market cap and it's not helping the existing shareholders. So some of it is stock dilution. There's just no question, but a lot of it is price. I mean, here, pick a company, George, any company.
You mean in the world?
No, one of these companies.
Oh. I was gonna say I gotta. Let's think of something we don't talk about. We don't talk about Wolf enough, so Wolf.
Let's do Wolf.
The Wolf is my buddy. Last name Prager, right?
Prager,
Wolf is
yes.
Prager. Prager, okay.
Okay, so this is April of 2025. Oh, you think, oh, that's the bottom, man. We're way up from there. Wait for it. Wait for it. I'm going to go to the 1 week so it's easier to read.
Oh. That one makes me dizzy.
So back in November. Actually, this is March of 2023. Here's December 2022. November, December was the official bottom. So you can see this continued to go sideways for quite some time. So they were trading at 92 cents. They're at $12.74 right now. So to my point, if you were dollar cost averaging in, some of the shares in your portfolio could be 95 cents cost basis. Well, those are up 10x, 12x. All of these companies from the bottom, with the exception of Hive, are up multiples. So yes, the market cap is up a lot, and stock dilution is a thing, but just raw shares, I mean, you're up.
Do you think the Clarity X going to get passed this month?
This month, no.
Ouch.
You're up 2,282%, by the way, if you bought at the bottom from TeraWolf. And that's not the top. The top a couple months ago, you were up over 3,000%. 3,000%.
Yeah. Do Mara's.
Even Mara, where you can say, man, this is the worst. This over the last 2 years, this is the worst performing stock out of all the stocks we look at, and it's not even close. Down 29% in 2024, and down on top of that, another 46% in 2025. Having said all that, this was a $3 stock in December of 2022.
I don't know if you're making me happy or sad. So you're saying it could go way back down.
It's not going back down to. This is when Bitcoin was at 50. To put it in perspective, this is when Bitcoin was at $15,500, and they were at like 10 exahash. Now they're at 60 exahash. They have 53,000, and they had 7,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet. Now they have 53,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet. They have 10 times the exahash, and Bitcoin's up, 500%. So this is not enough. This stock, this is why I'm buying this stock. Even with this 220% increase, that is just lagging by so far all the other stocks over the last 2 years. I mean, look. In 2025, this got to $30. In 2024, this got to $34. It's at, I'm going to call it $10, but it's actually not even at $10. So I find no reason why this is a worse company by multiples today than it was 2 years ago.
What is their total value if you multiply their
they are trading
to their Bitcoin holding?
They're trading below their Bitcoin holdings. They're trading below their net asset value. They're trading below book value significantly.
So that doesn't happen long?
And the only time a stock does that is it should be when they're on their way to going out of business. So if you think Marathon's on its way to going out of business, then I still wouldn't buy it even now because, you know, zero, when a company goes out of business, they go to zero. So any dollar amount is down from zero. But I don't think that's what's happening to this company at all. They're going to get filthy, stinking rich on 53,000 Bitcoin is the first thing that's going to happen. Even if they stink at everything else they do, they're going to make billions.
So here's what we said, Tom. We said that the safest Bitcoin miner was
I wouldn't be surprised if we said Marathon.
Marathon, yeah, we did.
Yeah, and it was the 800-pound gorilla for 2+ years. This was the largest by market cap of any Bitcoin miner. It was the largest. They mined the most Bitcoin every single month for over 2 years until IREN for 1 month popped up above them by a couple of Bitcoin. And none of that's changed. It's just sentiment. This stock is shorted to the high hills and it's lagging behind. But you can see, once again, I believe it has caught itself right here. I have this, what I think is a very strong line of support. And I think it's caught itself right there and we're about to move back up, right? We're deep into a bearish crossover on the MACD, so it's time for momentum to turn around. We've reset the daily RSI, all those, and I understand. You can throw all those things out the window just as easily as pay attention to them. So, you know, that's just one way to look at this.
But you wouldn't go all in right now. You would DCA even from here.
Yeah,
I'm the way you are.
I am just dollar cost averaging in, and I did so this week into the, again, this is not financial advice. I'm not telling you guys to do it, but I bought more this week in the 9s. Marathon in the 9s. I feel like at some point sooner than later, we're going to go same thing we're doing with IREN. I bought IREN at $6 and change. That wasn't 4 years ago. That was 6 months ago. It's at $42 right now. Right? Who wouldn't go back and buy IREN at $6? It was actually 9 months ago. So in 9 months, right, nobody wanted to touch IREN. Now, I'm not talking about you guys. We have a lot of IREN people in our world here that are in the know and understand what these guys are doing. But the rest of the world was running away from IREN as fast as they could. So they were selling their shares and I was buying them. So I'm like I said, it's been the best part of my portfolio by far. At the same time, I got rid of all my Microstrategy, which would have been, had I not done that, that would have been my worst performer on the year. So, you know, that's a pretty big swing to go from your worst performer to your best performer. I do think Microstrategy is in the bottoming out process. So I know a lot of people have given up on Microstrategy and they think that that whole concept is dead. I don't think it is. And I think if you look, so they have 671,000 Bitcoin. I mean, that's just staggering. By the way, Marathon's in second place with 53,000. So that's how much Bitcoin Strategy has. But
how often do you get who shorts it? Just only one time a quarter?
No, twice a month.
Oh, okay. When does the next short report come out? Any day now?
One should have just come out.
Where is that something you have to pay for, or
no? We could just look it up. And I don't know how shorted this stock is. I know everybody sold it. So it'd be interesting to see the short position. Drop in the comments if you guys know the short position. I mean, I could just look it up. Just look up MSTR short position, January 2026. Could give you 3 or 4 websites that usually update that regularly. Yahoo updates it, but not as rapidly as a lot of other. But we'll go check.
Yeah, that could be fun. There could be a short squeeze on Mara. Hold on. What do you think, Tom?
So
Too many stocks.
MicroStrategy or strategy is only 10% shorted.
That's not much.
And that information is a little bit old. It's from December 15th. But if I go to Marathon, short percent of the float, 35%. Go ahead, find a real company that's shorted 35%. I'm talking about a company that has assets, they have cash, they have investments, they have a massive amount of infrastructure, they make money, and they're shorted 35% of the float. You won't find one. You'll find other companies in the entire market, but this will be on the list near the worst. But for its size and what it does, this is unbelievably disproportionately shorted. And it's not the only one. This is the worst one, but it's not the only one. And that will get undone, right? These short positions don't last forever. They got to cash them out and take their money before these stocks run. And that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. When they get rid of them, they automatically start to run because that 35% is buying pressure that sits out there on Marathon. Unless you believe they're going to hold their shorts because Marathon's going to go out of business, right? That's always the caveat. That's the other side of the equation. If you're long-term shorting a company, that means you think it's going out of business. Most short positions are swing trades from big money that is manipulating. So even Riot, 14%. That's not even close. It's still a lot. That's a lot. But it's not even close. Going to the ones that are usually the highest. So here you go. Cleanspark. almost 32% short of the float, short of the shares outstanding 31.8, short of the float 32.7. So this is almost as bad as Marathon. So that's why these stocks are at $10 and $12 when they should be at $25 or $30 in my opinion. But you sit there and look at a 30+% short interest is staggering. The market hates Mara right now. When this thing turns around, it will pop so fast and hard. So I agree. I think that's because remember, you can go, well, they're not, their cost per coin is high. They are cash flow positive on every coin they mine, and they have the biggest fleet of Bitcoin miners of anyone. They also have a relationship with a company that makes Bitcoin miners. So depending on how that goes, and that's another thing about BitDeer. They make their own, they are a Bitcoin miner manufacturer. So they're scaling up and they have a chip coming out allegedly this year that's going to be basically another 50% reduction in or improvement in energy efficiency. So that will dramatically change, the upcoming fleet for them if that plays out that way. And it will be some. They've rolled out already the third version of the chip. There's a fourth version coming that's by far the best. So there's a lot of good catalysts out there. The Bitcoin network is now multiple months into going sideways or down a little bit instead of, running up and up and up. So, that's helping the Bitcoin miners. I think there's a lot of catalysts, and we haven't even gotten, and these are the ones inside the industry.
Catalyst.
Just talk XR, just switching gears quickly for a second. So James is saying Mara's short position is 27.46%. So, you know, that he may have found a more accurate one. It looks like on Seeking Alpha, and that's staggering. It's staggering. Right. I don't know. A lot of you may be experienced in trading a lot of these, even though these market caps are bigger now, these are still ultra high volatility. You know, and at one point, at one point within the last few years, most of these were micro cap or nano cap stocks. Some of them are now mid-sized stocks, which is, they've got to change some of these numbers and reclassify because none of these are really legit mid-sized companies. They're all still small. When you consider there's $4 trillion companies out there. Anyway, quickly switching to XRP for a moment.
XRP, what's that?
What is that? It's that thing you've been talking about for 3.5 years.
Is that another winner that we had? No way.
It's that thing you were talking about buying at 30 cents.
So now you kind of like it, Tom?
I bought some more this week.
Yeah, it moved a little today. You know, here's the thing. If you would have thought for a second that the ETFs were going to get in at a high number, I mean, $2 is cheap.
And this article goes to the fact the XRP ETFs blow. This is like a week old, I think. Wow, the 29th. So a couple days old. XRP ETFs blow past 1 billion in inflows. I don't know if it's still true today, but 1 or 2 trading days ago, every single day since they've opened has been an inflow. So no other coin did that. And all the other altcoins, this 1 billion in inflows drastically outperformed Solana and, you know, you name it, any of the other altcoins that have ETFs did not perform like this. So money is coming into XRP, and it's been a great buying opportunity because just like Bitcoin, retail investors are selling this as fast as they know how to sell it. So who's buying it? Institutions, whales.
So you're calling me fat now, Tom?
I never said that.
You just said you called me a whale.
Pogo. Oh, boy. This is what Pogo has to say to you, George. Only a winner if you bought it a year ago. Treading water in a sewer of sugar honey iced tea.
I agree with you, brother. And it's actually even better if you bought it 3 years ago.
Right. And that's the way this stuff goes, right? We definitely, nobody can debate. We have not had altcoin season. The big debate is there even going to be an altcoin season? I believe for the good coins, there's going to be big runs. Let's see what somebody else believes, because
I think what's going to be fun is to watch these things swing. You're going to watch. I'm telling you, you guys have seen nothing in these altcoins. They're going to go ballistic. And then they're going to go right back down.
Well, and it depends on the coin, right? The smaller altcoins that have no actual, value, they have no practical application. Those are pump and dump. But here, so it's not just me talking. Standard Chartered predicts a 330% price surge for XRP. So, this is not some miscellaneous prediction. And I'm going to go down and show you the number. They have a specific number. I passed up. Here you go. $8. They got this going to $8 in 2026. Standard Chartered is put a price target of $8 on XRP for this year. So, I don't know. I'll be happy if it gets to half of that. That's a double. So it's a quadruple if it gets to 8. I've heard numbers a lot bigger than this.
I think it's at least going to get to $2. That's all I can say, guys.
What's at $1.99 right now?
I know, that's why I said that.
We got a lot of hate on XRP in the comments section. People are not liking XRP. Well, a time will tell. I don't, we'll see. I think there's a massive use case for this. It has skyrocketed up. It's solidified its position. One of my predictions for 2026 is that XRP will be the third largest cryptocurrency, including stable coins, which means it's going to pass Binance and Tether, in my opinion, in 2026. It will, and I don't believe it stands a legit shot at passing Ethereum. And somebody just asked, let me find that. Let go. Katie said, "What about ETH? Any good? Question mark." Let me go to a article.
Article written by Vladimir himself.
Well, pretty much. Yes, you're right. Metallic Buterin on the 2 goals Ethereum must meet to become the, quote, world computer. So after major technical gains in 2025, Buterin says the network must double down on usability and decentralization to meet its original goals.
Yeah, if you would have done that in the beginning, maybe.
He's pushing.
He has to rewrite the whole freaking thing again.
Well, they keep, there's change after change after change, and they're all nonsense words that I never heard of. He pushes back against the short-term crypto narrative in favor of durable, censorship-resistant applications. The message, and he put out a message on New Year's. So this is his coin. I mean, he doesn't own it, but this is his coin.
It's his baby.
This is his baby. The message reframes Ethereum as long-term internet infrastructure rather than a platform chasing market trends. What were you saying? What are you saying, George?
No, I understand. It's just different. Each one of these coins are different, and they have different use cases. I would say Ethereum is more like Solana, and Solana seems to be winning right now.
Well, Solana came right at Ethereum. There's no doubt about it. But here is their leader trying to say, hey, forget about all this short-term stuff. We want to build long-term infrastructure that is, what did he say? Censorship resistant. DeFi, they're all in on this DeFi. He wants people, and that's why he's calling it the world's computer, because he would like basically the internet to be on this blockchain and to be free. I don't mean of charge. I mean of censorship and, et cetera, et cetera. So this is their vision for Ethereum. My problem with Ethereum is they make monumental changes to this program on a regular basis, and they've already laid out a number of continuing changes. Now, maybe this is all means to some end that's just can't see the forest for the trees, or don't have enough knowledge on this to understand where they're going, but It's too confusing for me. I don't have any Ethereum. Having said that, I think it'll have a nice run. You'll notice I did not predict that XRP would pass Ethereum because I think Ethereum is going to continue to run.
Well,
will it one day pass Ethereum? Maybe.
I think if Ethereum doesn't figure it out, you know what I mean?
Right, and you can see he's trying to address. He put a New Year's letter out to the world, trying to kind of reframe, like, let's get back on track here and do what we said we were going to do to begin with.
When does our buddy's letter come out?
Oh, it's probably out.
Larry Fink.
Yeah, well, I'm going to write that on the list. Boy, has that letter changed over the years.
Yeah.
That had 2 years in a row where it was essentially
an
ESG letter.
You know, that's a really good point, Tom. If people want to understand investing, you should read the last 3 years of his letters.
Yeah, it's
eye-opening.
Yeah.
This is, quote unquote, basically one of the richest people.
So Larry Fink runs BlackRock. BlackRock manages $13.6 trillion in money. So that is the biggest manager of money on earth. And so when Larry Fink puts out his annual letter, it means something. Doesn't mean he knows what he's talking about. It just means something.
Well, or what he plans on doing. I don't necessarily think. I think it's kind of like a blueprint. I mean, read back of what he said about Bitcoin. I mean, it's a great little understanding what's going on.
It's funny because here's what happened. One of the things that is going to help Bitcoin going forward, Bitcoin was the ESG poster child. And if you remember, there was 2 years in investing. Everybody got an ESG score. This was going to be the new thing. It wasn't going to be about profitability anymore, right? A company wasn't going to be a good company if they had a good PE and they made a lot of money and they had a sound business model. It was going to be, are you good for the environment? Are you good for your community, etc.? And
you got to understand that that's how it was for 4 years. But
guess what happened? AI. Guess what needs way more power than Bitcoin mining?
I thought you were going to say Trump.
Well, that too. But now all of a sudden, everybody's favorite pet project and the thing that's going to shape the future requires significantly more power. You know, it was, the Bitcoin takes up so much power, it's ruining the earth, right? Bitcoin miners are bad. The first thing is, for anybody looking, most of the Bitcoin miners don't even use fossil fuels. They use renewable energy for the majority of what they do, at least the publicly traded ones. So that's number one. So it was always a bogus narrative. Number two, high-performance computing, large language models are going to dwarf the amount of power that Bitcoin uses. And nobody has said a word about that. Every single AI company has doubled, tripled, quadrupled. So it's a total. These are the kind of. So when you got somebody that manages $13.6 trillion, he's able to steer the ship a little bit. Right there. And then they all go meet at Davos once a year. And, I didn't get my invite. I don't know about you guys.
I did.
Well, go let them know what's what.
So, who was it that said the most interesting statement? Bill Gates. Did you hear what Bill Gates said about the economy? I mean, about the environment?
Well, Bill Gates very recently had pretty much, I won't call it a 100%, turnaround on this issue, but a seismic shift on this issue. And he basically said, listen, it's not our number one problem. It's not our most urgent problem. We have got to stop sending all of our money into this thing and creating so much fear and panic. But he says, yes, it is a very important problem. We just got to stop telling people it's the end of the world. And he was the leader, right? He was one of the, there's 5 names that you would associate with ESG. Bill Gates would be one of them. So his point was, how about let's feed people first? Things like that. Gary is making his feelings well known in the chat on Marathon. Stupid to put money into terrible management team. Mara does everything wrong. Been listening to that. Mara is the most undervalued, but everything they do loses money. That is Gary's thoughts on Mara. I'm buying it. Again, I think, you know, these are all part of your own due diligence and what you think is what. And to me, they got a lot of Bitcoin and they're one of the most shorted stocks in the entire stock market. And they're undervalued versus their peers. In the last 18 months, there's been a monumental reversal in that stock in particular. So I'm not saying they're the best company. I've always listened. I've called balls and strikes on those guys for 4 years now. And, you know, they get some stuff right and they get a bunch of stuff wrong. But I do think they positioned themselves very well at this point. Are not the best, right? There's lots that are better, but those better companies might not be better investments. And that's the bottom line. That's what you have to decide. That's what due diligence is.
Tom, we haven't talked much about Riot today. Is there anything out there about them?
Actually, thank you for mentioning that. Yeah, there was a little news.
Yeah, you're welcome, guys. This is how much I love everybody.
Very quietly, on December 30th, Mara put out an at-the-market offering for $500 million. So I'll go to the other page so you can just look right at it. Riot Platforms up to $500 million. This is an at-the-market offering. This came out, this says, on December 29th. So this stock did not get punished for this. This stock was up 10% today. Let me go look at the exact number. Right, Riot was up 11.76% today. By the way, we ought to just take a moment and look. Marathon up 10%. Riot up almost 12%. Cleanspark up 14%. IREN up 13%. CIFR up almost 10%. BitDR was the big lagger. It was up only 3%. It continues to get disrespected. TerraWolf up double digits, 10%. Bitfarms up double digits, almost 11%. HUT up 11.5%. Hive also lagged behind at 5.8%.
Do you think today was out of the ordinary and the big boys weren't really playing? Or do you think this is a sign of things to come this month?
I think that by the time January's over, we're going to have whiplash. So I expect to see green days like this and red days like this in January. because as we close in and start counting down that deadline on the government shutdown at the end of January, unreasonable panic will set in once again, like it did the last time. And so I just feel like that's a short-term thing that's going to make things very volatile.
Chi-Chi's closed all their locations.
Who did?
Chi-Chi's and then Don Pablo.
That
They are no longer 51 locations. Wow. They filed Chapter 11.
Well, there's an example.
I mean, it's just been, I bet you 2025 is going to go down in history with the most corporate bankruptcies ever.
It was a rough year. We'll see how 2026 is, because I think 2026, remember the stock market, everybody's predicting the stock market's going to have a great year. I think it's going to have a good year. I think Bitcoin's going to have a very good year. But that doesn't mean the economy's going to have a good year. Those two things aren't always necessarily the same. I'm not going to read this, but you can see in 2025, Bitcoin showed how spectacularly wrong price forecasting can be. And then it goes on to show a lot of people's price forecast versus what happened in reality. And basically everybody was wrong in the fourth quarter. Everyone in the public eye, everybody, the pundits were wrong, I should say.
That's interesting.
I'm just going through a couple of quick. You got something?
No, it's just funny, this game of investing. It's a hard game. They definitely make you earn it.
Oh, yeah. And you know what the better quote is from Warren Buffett, in my opinion? And I'm not a huge Warren Buffett guy, but take that for whatever it's worth. But he's dead nails on this. The stock market is a vehicle that takes money from the impatient and gives it to the patient. And
that is a very good statement. No wonder I don't like stock market.
KBW upgrades TeraWulf to outperform, sees the AI pivot as catalyst for sharp growth. So they raised their price target on TeraWulf, stock ticker Wolf, WULF, from $9.50. They raised it to $24. That's 100% upside from where it's trading right now. So this is what I'm talking about with AI. For those of you who think that there was an AI bubble and it's over, if you invest that way this year, my guess is you're going to have a bad year. Here, this is another one I wanted to get to, because this is a lesson, and I hope none of you guys are doing this. I feel like you're not, but a lot of people are, and they lost the most money ever. How crypto's promised year-end fireworks turned into a bloodbath. October's 19 billion liquidation cascade hollowed out the market path, and the subsequent rebound has been fueled more by short covering than fresh demand. $19 billion liquidation. And I think they talk about this, but effectively, instead, here's what happened. A $19 billion liquidation cascade in October blew a hole in liquidity. Spot altcoin ETFs failed to offset selling pressure, and the new crop of treasury-heavy crypto stocks have already morphed from structural buyers into potential forced sellers. I think that's an overstatement, but somewhere in here it talks about what happened is what always happens. Remember I told you in September, we all accepted September was going to be no good, but it was going to be October. October was going to be the best thing ever, and then the fourth quarter was going to be the best thing ever. Well, the derivative products, which drive the price of the underlying product, $19 billion in liquidations in October, which means massive derivative bets at super high leverage, 20x, 50x, 100x leverage. You know how fast you get liquidated at 100x leverage? You could sneeze and get all your money's gone. It's beyond gambling. It's, if you get, and the worst thing that could happen to somebody is they get lucky and win the first time. It's no different than a casino. And then you go in and you go, well, I'm good at blackjack. Well, nobody's good at blackjack. If you're perfect at blackjack, the house has the odds to beat you. So anybody that knows the game, and I'm not a big blackjack guy, and it's for that reason, the house wins. If you're perfect over time, now obviously on any given night, you could go win big money, and that's what brings people there. It's gambling. No different than on a 50x leverage. If you happen to get one of those right, you have a good day. But guess what? Everybody gets to see the trading books. They all know all the money was sitting out there, ultra long, ultra leveraged. So what do? Bam, they pull the rug out from underneath you. That's going to happen every time this setup occurs. That will be the result, without exception. So that derailed that's one of many things that helped derail the fourth quarter, but it didn't change the overall narrative on Bitcoin. People got greedy in the short term, and we got wrecked for it. But nothing structurally about Bitcoin has changed. So that is why I still am holding to the fact that I think Bitcoin will hit $175,000 in 2026. Is the bull market over? 23% said yes. We forgot about the polls, George. 77% said no. So let's see where you guys think this thing's going. I'm on record. I believe that we will get to 175,000 in 2026. That is not financial advice. A prediction equals a guess. So just remember, that's how this works. But that's what I think.
Tom, that was a good question. What do you think are going to be the three best companies in this space this year? And I mean, I'm not going to record it.
Yeah, you're going to write it down, and 3 years from now, you're going to be like, Tom said this was going to be a good company back in.
No, we did that together, dude.
I know, we did, and we made a point to say we were going to take a look at this and see how it all worked out. So, good job bringing that back around. I'll hold off on this poll for a second. I think there's a lot of these that are good investments. So remember,
investment's not a lottery ticket, right?
Right, and I'm talking about. So somebody said, thank you to somebody who said, here. James said, good move, Tom. It's technically in an oversold condition. So that's a technical fact. So Marathon might not be a good company, but technically it's just oversold. It just is. And this is how things work. They bounce between overbought and oversold and overbought. And if you look at any RSI, that's what this is telling you. You see how this goes up and then it comes down, and then it goes up and then it comes down, and then it goes up and then it comes down. That is oversold, overbought, oversold, overbought. And that's just the nature of things. And Marathon is just oversold right now. It just is. Right? Marathon is at 36 on the daily RSI, which is just about as low as it ever gets. And you can see it's kind of, if I blow this up a little bit, it's kind of double bottomed here. You could count that as a triple bottom back here, right? This is where this bottoms out. And then it runs up. So that's what happened here. Once this bottomed out here, that was the bottom. Look at the chart. That was the bottom on the chart. Then boom, This is the top on the RSI. Guess what? That was the top for Marathon. So this isn't rocket science. And this is highly reliable. Now, you get squiggly lines sometimes, and for 3 to 6 months, this indicator may not be giving you any information. But when it does give you information, take it. Right? No indicator is right 100% of the time. But if you understand how they work, they're good for trading. I think a lot of these companies are going to have really good years. I've said I think Marathon's going to have a really good year this year. I think Cleanspark's stock is going to have a really good year this year. I think IREN's going to have a really good year, but it's at $42. I mean, if it gets to $100, that's, you know, less than a 2.5x. So as a percentage, it may not have as good of a year because it made a gigantic run. But I still think it's a great stock. I have sold 0 of my IREN, and I expect it to get over 100. That's my personal price target. I think CIFR is out ahead. It's already had a nice run, but it's CIFR and TeraWulf are in the AI business, and they're ahead of the curve. So I think they're going to have good years. I think BTDR is another one that people have just missed, and it's going to get its time, and it's going to run like crazy. That's my opinion. And I think it's going to be overall a good year for Bitcoin. I think it's going to be an overall good year for data centers. So that's what all of these companies are a combination of. So for that reason, I think most of these stocks should have a really good 2026. And this cycle. So George, you're talking about rotation. I'm going to go back in time.
Rotation.
So 2025, this was actually, versus Bitcoin, this was actually a good year. It wasn't a great year, but it was a good year, right? Almost everything outperformed Bitcoin. And, in a year Bitcoin was down, we had things up 285%, 218%, 124%, 103%. I mean, those are huge moves to the upside when the underlying asset is down. Now, that's because these are the top 4 data center or energy-related companies on the list. But Bitfarms has allocated, they're going all in. They won't even be a Bitcoin miner in 2028, in my opinion.
Do you think that's going to bite them or no?
I don't think so. I think they were forced into that move, and I think it's going to be the right move. They had a hostile takeover attempt. They had a snafu in the CEO swapping out. They had a confluence of events occur that destroyed their stock. And that's why it was at 68 cents. I can't tell you. My only regret is that I didn't have more money to put into it when it was at 68 cents because it was stupidity. So, it's up 58% this year. And I think it's got a long way to go. And that's from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. In the middle, this stock tanked. So, it's up 400 or 500% from its lows of 2025. But my point is, so 2024, also a mixed bag, but really, here you'll see Bitcoin's near the top of the list. Bitcoin outperformed almost everything. And these companies that were in the red when Bitcoin was up over 100%, these are nightmares. So Cleanspark, Marathon, BitDigital, Riot, Hive, Bitfarms. Bitfarms was down almost 50% in a year that Bitcoin was up 122%. So for the people that don't like Bitfarms, I get it, right? I mean, that's a train wreck. However, this is 2023. Core Scientific, I can't even see the number. It's off the chart. It was over 1,000%. CIFR, this is just 2023. So this is what can happen in a good year for the Bitcoin miners. CIFR up 638%. BitDigital up 605%. Marathon up 587%. Bitfarms up 561%. At this time, we were still following things like DigiHost, which are now, too small to be considered, 536%. IREN was up 472%. CleanSpark, 441%. I mean, look at this list. And Bitcoin was up 154%. So when somebody goes, well, I think this is going to triple, it's not because it's a delusional wish. It's because there's a track record of these tripling or quadrupling or more in 1 year. This has happened in every cycle. So what's 2026? We're going to find out. 2023 was a grand slam home run. By the way, 2022 was a disaster. So bad year, best year ever. 2024 was mediocre. 2025, I would call overall medium. So is this going to be a good year? We'll see. I'm not expecting across the board 600% moves to the upside, but you can see how quickly to expect that everything will go up 200, 300, 400%. That's not crazy. That's just not crazy. It's not unprecedented, and it would be unprecedented if it didn't. Really.
So you think they rotate in for how long time?
I mean, you had to catch these. If you didn't get rid of these at the end of 2023.
Well, or even the end of this year in October, I mean.
Right, that's right. And that's where the yearly thing can be, the 2025 yearly thing, like IREN's up 285%, but it's down 40% from its high in the last 2 months. So are most of these, right? Everything got crushed in the last couple of months. So, if you're swing trading out of these, and George did get out of all of his, kept all of his cryptocurrencies and got out of all of his equities in October.
I didn't get rid of all of them. I got back in.
Oh, you did? You got back in
some? I bought into ABTC and Hive.
Duckman loves Stronghold. Pogo, shout out to Duckman, who we haven't seen in a long time, and he was the one who kept saying he was going to jump off a bridge, so let's hope that that's not what happened.
Do you think that merger or buyout, I guess is really what it was, is going to probably go down in history as one of the best decisions ever made with Bitfarms and Stronghold?
I mean, it was a gigantic, there's ranking it all time. I don't know how to do that, but it was a gigantic win for them. It's the one thing in a 12-month shitstorm, pardon my French, that they got exactly right. And it really saved their whole company, in my opinion. So.
Oh, you really think that was the thing that saved their company because of AI and?
Yes.
A question. You remember the company Any, which we've followed for many years now?
Yes, indeed.
Do you think they have a rabbit that they're going to pull out again?
Any?
I mean, I can't believe they haven't announced they're going into AI.
I think their credibility is, they've used all their credibility chips.
I mean, do you know how much money they've made? I mean, it's crazy. If you want to look at a stock, Tom, that's from the time. Oh my God.
Do they even exist? I haven't even looked.
Oh yeah, it's still alive, yeah.
Sphere 3D, Any. So let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at this 5-year chart. Down 96.7%. That's from here, by the way.
And it goes a lot higher.
So from here, it's down 99 point something percent. Now,
was this the company before? Does that include it too, or no?
Sphere 3D?
Yeah.
Well, it was a reverse merger or whatever you want to call it. So yes, this is, but this peak right here. They put out a press release. Some of you have been in here long enough and you'll remember exactly what I'm talking about. And I get it wrong every time. I call it the Gatorade machine, but it was really
Mountain Dew.
It was the Mountain Dew machine. They put out a press release essentially, and this was a nano cap stock.
And it popped.
They put out a press release that said they put in an order for a new Bitcoin mining machine that was magnitudes more energy efficient than anything that existed at the time. And it was $1.8 billion worth. And this was like a $50 million company. So the company they were buying them from was going to lend them the $1.8 billion to buy this mystery machine that didn't exist. And they would have exclusive rights going forward to buy all the rest of the machines that company made. So
you want to hear a crazy one, guys? We never told you this because it didn't turn out to be anything. We actually started calling the people regarding that was making these machines, and we tracked down a guy named, was it Bill, up in Canada?
I think it was Bill. Yes.
Yeah, it was Bill up in like Utah or Canada or someplace like that.
He was in Canada.
Yeah, and he just talked about how, he's the smartest man ever, and he's going to make all these machines, and that was a very interesting conversation.
If you
remember that? We spent hours trying to research this.
Yeah, because it was the craziest thing I'd ever seen. And for the record, you can go in the Wayback Machine. I did a video the day that press release came out and said, there is absolutely no way that any of this is true.
And there was a few companies that said, "Oh, it's a buy. It's amazing."
Oh yeah. Oh, it was, and that the company that they were buying the machine from didn't even exist.
Yeah,
I've never seen a press. This is a
how do these
SEC publicly traded company, right? I don't understand how they could have put out that press release. Now it's all new management. The new CEO, I think, tried to do a good job, and was handed a pile of garbage. And
she was a DEI hire on this. Sorry, hope she's not watching. We kind of became friends. I talked to her, and nice person and all that, but she was definitely
she was dealt a losing hand of cards, period. Like, the blame does not go to that person.
Right, but she drove the stock.
Yeah, well.
I wonder how much she got paid. You think she got 32 million? What's her company worth now, Tom? Is it worth more than $1 million?
$11 million.
Oh, okay. So it's still got 11. I wouldn't be surprised if this pops again and doubles.
By the way, remember, this is $11 million. IREN's $12 billion. This company put out a press release that said within 6 months, it was going to be by far the biggest Bitcoin mining company in the world. So,
and how many months later did they take and retract the statement?
Oh, they dialed it back one piece at a time for a year, and that ended up getting 0 machines out of that.
No, seriously, how do they not get on the radar of the SEC? You know what I mean?
I don't know. Even if they were duped, like, you're not allowed to be that duped as a CEO of a publicly traded company. Like, you gotta do better than that.
I mean, I think they don't even have enough cash now. I think sometime this first quarter they're gonna go because they don't have enough cash. We looked this up last time.
I don't even know if they're running any machines. I haven't looked. All of the micro cap and nano cap stocks, we all voted a year ago. We took them off the list, and I don't follow them. I don't do my due diligence on them anymore. I just don't believe any of those stocks. And maybe there'll be one winner that comes out of there. I don't know. And if there is, maybe that's going to 10x or 20x or 30x. But I think most of those, the ones that there were a group that lost at this halving, and this is in that group. They just lost. Stronghold sold. So, you can't say they lost. They got their money. Gary saying Edmund sold all his IREN to buy MicroStrategy, perhaps decided he had had enough of the space.
Yeah.
Best option, I fear he was in his 90s, wasn't he? I don't know, but he was an older gentleman, and he gave us a lot of good input over the years. He did go all in on MicroStrategy, and so far that trade's not working out. But you know what? If he didn't sell it, I don't think that company's done. I think it's going to have a great 2026.
By the way, we didn't even talk about it, but we talked about silver way, 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 way back.
At 26.
At $26?
And it was you.
Yeah.
To be fair, you brought up silver at $26.
And I said, this is the play.
And it has gone ballistic. Now, the last few days have been weird, but...
Well, I told you why.
Yes. So, and if you bought in at any reasonable amount of time ago, you don't care about this little volatility over the last few days. It's nothing. We ran way over today, George.
Well, we were way late.
That's true.
So did I talk about what I thought gold was doing and how we were going to pay off the debt? Did I say that on stream?
I don't know if you have said that on the public stream.
Well, I'll save something to tune in for on Tuesday. Because it's going almost identical to what I thought was going to happen.
Well, that's a good scenario if that plays out. Today was a great day. It was green from top to bottom for the Bitcoin miners. Bitcoin was up quite a bit. I have a new line, a dotted green line. That is where Bitcoin closed out at the end of 2025. And that is when the U.S. equity markets closed. So that will not line up with the daily candle. To be fair, to compare it against the equity stocks, I picked the number of when the U.S. equity markets closed because that's what we're comparing it against with all the other companies. So that's where it was. We closed last year at around 87,500. We're already back up to basically 90,000. Now, is this a one-off? Because yesterday we weren't at 90,000. We just had a big run up from, we were still hanging out part of the weekend at 87-ish. So let's hope it's up from here. All we can say is we're one trading day in for the equities, and we're 2 trading days in for Bitcoin, and it seems to be trending in the right direction. So let's take the win while we got it, and we got all the rest of the year left. We're at the very beginning now. So happy New Year to everybody. Good luck in 2026. Thank you guys for joining us. George, any parting thoughts?
You didn't lose the money until you sell.
That's right. That's right. Don't panic.
If you don't need it, don't sell it. Not now. End of the year, maybe differently. Just got a few months to get through, I think, the hurt, and then we'll be fine. Do you know what's really sad, though, Tom? And I'll end with this. When they lowered the interest rates, the Fed, banks didn't lower the interest rates for mortgages.
The 10-year didn't move. The 20-year didn't move. No. The bank loans didn't move because nobody believes Jerome. Well, actually, they do believe Jerome Powell. That's the problem.
Yeah.
But he's going to be gone. Our Fed problem will be gone by the middle of this year. We can talk more about that on the next stream.
May what? What's the date? May, if it's the beginning of May, end of May?
I don't know the exact date. I'll make that note as well.
Does he got any vacation time stored up?
I'm not sure if you get paid your vacation time upon exiting.
Yeah, that'd be kind of good. All right, good talking to everybody.
Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a fantastic weekend. Thanks, George.
Yeah.
Go Bitcoin.